What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera, alongside a very special guest. Vish Kumaran had some work stuff, so we couldn't do a live show today. But I am very pleased and privileged to be joined by Clayton Holloway of the NFL Network. Clayton, thanks for a few minutes.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm glad I'm I'm glad I'm the backup plan here.
Well, I didn't mean any disrespect, but people expect Vish Kumaran on Mondays. For people that don't know who are you and what do you do and why are you on this show?
Who am I? I am Clayton Holloway. I am an employee of the National Football League, specifically the NFL Network. You and I met in Vegas during Super Bowl week, both 49er fans. Although I am a league employee, I am a very, very lifelong, passionate San Francisco 49er fan. What I do for the league, I do a lot of different things, but the best way to describe it is I'm like the middleman for news. News gets fed to me. I feed it to all of our other producers. I feed it to our .com people. We put it out in the NFL world. I work with Ian Rappaport daily, Tom Pelissero, Mike Garafolo, all of our other reporters and talent. And that's how we put NFL news out into this world.
So when I was with ESPN, we had a news desk, and the news desk.
That's where I'm at. I'm specifically on the assignment desk. Yes.
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. So for people that don't know, they have people on an assignment desk. They hear about all the stuff before everybody else.
Yes.
Before it goes public, you vet it. You kind of, who are you hearing this from? What are your sources? All that stuff. And then once it clears that process, then it can be like disseminated to everybody. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate. If everybody knew what a senior assignment editor was, I would just say that's what my title. But usually when I tell people that, they have a lot of questions. I do a lot of things. I produce, break news. I help write ticker headlines, and I communicate all the news the way we distribute it out into the world. So.
All right, so tell us everything you know. Come on, give us the juicy gossip here. We're days away from the NFL draft.
What do we want to know? What do we want to know? And I'll talk about what I can talk about.
Well, I want to know what the hell the 49ers are going to do in the first round. I keep making the joke over and over again that, the Trey Lance deal is finally over with. So we have a first round pick. I get to read mock drafts again. Yeah. And I keep seeing the 49ers ending up taking Mims from Georgia, the offensive lineman who I've referred to as the Trey Lance of offensive tackles because he has 8 starts in college. I can't remember who it was, if it was ESPN or I've read so many now. Somebody even had the 49ers trading up to take him. And I'm sitting there screaming like, no, stop taking developmental players that are going to need years of time before they can contribute when you have a Super Bowl team. Like those two things don't mix. And I feel like they should have learned that lesson with Trey Lance. Yeah. And now if they draft this guy with 8 friggin' starts, I feel like they're making the same mistake all over again.
Seems like you're drafting a guy that's developmental, like you said. There's how many mock drafts have you read so far? There's so many, and all of them are. I always go with like DJ Daniel Jeremiah goes. He's one of our guys, Bucky Brooks, and he and Bucky are both have different opinions. I think Daniel Jeremiah on his 3rd mock, he has us going with is it Chop Robinson, the DN from Penn State?
Chop Robinson.
I think he has us going with Penn, and then Bucky has us going corner, the Clemson corner, Wiggins. I personally would like us to beef up the offensive line on the right side, maybe Guyton if he's available. JC Latham, he might not be there, but I feel like you need a strong right tackle. And if you're going to do it this year, this is the draft to do it. I mean, what do you have, like 8 guys that are potentially going to be first rounders? 8 tackles specifically. So this is the year to beef up the right side. I was never a fan of the Mike McGlinchey pick. We re-signed McKivitz for 1 year. I just feel like the right side needs a lot of help.
Lee Ving says McKivitz has a 2-year deal. What could go wrong? Well, we kind of saw what could go wrong at the end of the Super Bowl. So
yes.
And I know Lee knows that, but here's what I'm worried about, though. Aside from the thing I mentioned earlier, you're at 31. If you stay at 31, do you want the 7th best tackle in the draft potentially, depending on how the board falls?
I mean, if you Kyle Shanahan, I mean, you're confident in your scheme, you're confident in your guys. I feel like if there's a good guy there, I mean, if Guyton is there, that's a really good right tackle. I mean, if you're learning from Trent Williams You already have all the good pieces in play on the line as far as the George Kittles that are going to line up next to you and help block. I think that's a good piece to add. I mean, don't you agree? Let's say JC Latham falls. Let's say I think he's projected to go somewhere between 15 and 20. Let's say he falls. I mean, that's an Alabama right tackle. I mean, it's good pedigree.
Yes. I am not locked into an offensive lineman in round one. I'm not saying like offensive linemen are bust. And what I think the 49ers have done is I think they have brought back Feliciano to play right guard. I think they realize now he should have been the starter all along. Spencer Burford ain't it. Nice guy. He ain't it. I think they got McKivitz back, and I think they say, we know this is good enough. So we are not going to be forced into taking a tackle in round one of the draft. We know, come hell or high water, if this is what we got to go to war with, we've done it before. And so I think that they are not going to take the 5th or 6th tackle on the board in round one. I think they're content to sit back, and if they can get, a top corner or a top wide receiver or a top defensive lineman, like you said, I think they're going to go that route. I don't think they see the offensive line as big of a need as you and I and so many other people see it as.
I mean, I agree with a lot that you just said there, and I'll get to my second part in a second. So my issue with San Francisco as being a lifelong fan, especially during the Shanahan era, is secondary and O-line. Those have been my gripes for the longest time, and they never get filled. They never get fulfilled. So going to your point about, the 7th, 8th best right tackle. Yeah, I think if San Francisco doesn't address a need in the first round, whether it be O-line, CB, I'm not gonna be surprised if they do go the Chop Robinson route. I mean, think of the amount of D linemen that they lost. To me, I feel like it's one of those 3 positions, that first, second round, and then after that, it's best available.
I would agree. And I said going into free agency, Randy Gregory, gone. Chase Young, gone. Drake Jackson, clearly not
Cleveland
it.
Farrell, gone.
Cleveland Farrell's the other one. Yeah. They
Eric
need
Armstead,
body.
Gone.
Everybody freaks out because it's another defensive lineman, but like you need people.
They filled a few. They got a few guys. They got who did we pick up? We picked up
Yetur
Gross-Matos, Jordan Elliott. I like the Malik Collins trade. I think that is there we go. I love the Malik Collins one. The other ones are just, we're filling holes. Leonard Floyd still has a little in the gas, but if you look at some of those guys' age, they're all up there in age, 30, 31 years old.
Yep.
So it's just more plug and play pieces more than anything. You fill your needs those first 2 rounds, and after that, I think it's fair game, best available. That would be my guess.
Which, again, I'm fine with. I keep saying the thing I loved about Leonard Floyd is, I feel like previous attempts to compliment Nick Bosa have been, well, let's get somebody and hope that because they're playing with Nick Bosa, they'll be better than they've ever been and rise to a level that we haven't seen yet.
Right.
They don't need, that's not what they're doing with Floyd. With Floyd, it's like, just do exactly what you've done your career, and we're happy with that production. That's exactly what we want. And if you happen to get some sort of boost with playing with Bosa, great. But if not, if you are exactly what you've been, we're going to have the answer to who rushes opposite Nick Bosa that they really have been searching for since D Ford. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. You thought Chase was going to be the guy, and unfortunately it didn't work out that way. So
yeah, I really did have higher hopes for him. I thought, especially
that first Jacksonville game.
Yes.
He came in, he had a sack within the first 2 series or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I thought that was going to be something special, but
yeah, when he and Bosa met at the quarterback, literally right after Chase said we're going to meet at the quarterback, I was like, holy crap, it's happening.
We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to win it. Yeah, of course. Same mindset.
Yeah, that was didn't quite work out. Turns out we realized why 49ers were able to get Chase Young for a comp pick.
Yep.
So, but that's all right. It was a shot worth taking. And I love that Kyle and John are willing to do that. They're willing to roll the dice a little bit. They're willing. I mean, I feel like they figured out pretty quick. Drake Jackson is just not who we thought he was going to be. They went out, they got Randy Gregory, they traded for Chase Young. They move quickly and they're not afraid to take big swings. You're not always going to hit the home run, but I feel like your chances of hitting one are of a hell of a lot better if you actually take a big swing.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so funny when I saw the Montez Sweat trade, and I'm like, what? Chase Young, Montez Sweat. Now it all knowing what we know now, it all makes sense. So
yeah, Sweat was fantastic for Chicago. Their defense is actually looking really, really good. They could have one of the best defenses in the NFC this year, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that a little bit. So we'll see.
JCG 1987 YouTube channel member. Shout out to JCG and all my YouTube channel members. I really appreciate it. Please support the channel. It's less than $3 a month. You get membership badges, you get custom emojis, you get priority comment response. Please and thank you. JCG says, if Brian Thomas were to fall for whatever reason, would you be mad if the 49ers grabbed him instead of offensive line or defensive back? I wouldn't, honestly. Like, I want good players. Go back and look at the 49ers history of first-round draft picks. In this regime, it's a little scary.
Yeah. I wouldn't be mad. I can't get it through. I feel like every time they get it, they go in opposite direction. I never like the pick. It's like I want them to do something with that first round pick, and I don't like it. So it's like, yeah, the Brian Thomas thing would be great, and then fast forward a year or two down the road, it's like, they should have went O-line. Oh, they should have went CB. So we'll see what they do. 31's an interesting spot, and especially when you have 10 draft picks. There's so many directions they can go here.
They have.
It depends on who they fall in love with. I mean, DJ really thinks they like Chop Robinson, and he impressed a lot of people in Indianapolis. He impressed a lot of people out there. So I don't know.
They have held true to their philosophy. They have built the team inside out. Offensive line, defensive line. Really, defensive line. Right. I just wish that, I don't know. I feel like, look, if they're not going to call holding in the Super Bowl, maybe you can't build your team off.
Isn't that incredible?
Come on, man. Maybe you got to start with the secondary, because if everybody can hold, it doesn't matter how good your defensive line is.
A team top 3 in the regular season in holds doesn't have one hold in the entire playoffs. Another story for another day.
Yes. Leaving says, outside corner a bigger need if they don't want to pay Ward and Lenore down the road. That's the other part about this is 3/4 of the secondary is a free agent after the season. Hufanga, whose price tag may have just gone up with the Patriots signing Kyle Duggar. You got Diamador Lenore, who I think his stock is clearly rising, and Charvarius Ward, his stock is already high.
It's at an all-time high. Ward had an amazing season. Yeah. Who's the big corner? You got Kool-Aid McKinstry. What is Kool-Aid? About 6 feet, 6'1"?
I believe so.
And then the Wiggins kid, which Bucky, I don't remember how big. I think Wiggins is 6 feet. I hope I'm not wrong on that. Those are the two that could potentially be available at 31.
You also have the guy who had his pro day today, Cooper
DeJean,
who everybody is, drooling over right now because he ran a 4.43. Again, it's a pro day, so take the 40 numbers with a grain of salt because who's doing the timing. But 4.43 40, same vertical as Steve Smith, same broad jump as Jalen Johnson, 10 feet 4 inches, more bench reps 16 than Antrell Roll 15. I don't know anything about Cooper DeJean, but all I know is if you are a white defensive back, specifically a corner, you must be pretty damn good.
Getting Jason Sehorn vibes all over again. Adam Archuleta.
Jeez. Those are the two. Honestly, in my life, those are the two that I think.
I don't know how well you remember it, but I remember what was it, late 90s when Adam Archuleta was coming out of Arizona State, but he was on TV because of how impressed, because of numbers like these. I don't think he ran a 4.43 40, but he was very impressive in the gym, combine, all pro day stuff. But it's pretty funny.
I can't remember who ran it, but it was Dion was actually in the booth at the combine. And there was a white guy that ran like a 4.43, and Dion was like, "Oh, he can run." And they were like,
"I remember that. I don't remember who it was though."
Yeah, Rich was like, "What do you mean, Dion?" He was like, "You know what I mean. He can run." I can't remember who the player was.
But it was the other white DB. It was literally from like a couple of years ago, was it not?
Yeah, it was a few years ago. I don't remember who it was. He did run. It was a crazy fast time, but I can't remember who it was. Probably not. Probably shouldn't have told that story if I couldn't remember who it was, but here we are. I got this question from Stovey 4x4ing. Says, will the 49ers trade up in round 1? They certainly can. You mentioned the 10 picks that they have. We know they're not afraid to spend future first-round picks.
I think all options are possible. It depends on who they really want and who's available still. If they see somebody at 20 that they didn't think was going to be there, they could be making phone calls. But if I were a betting man, I would say they probably don't.
I wouldn't hate it, but it has to be for the right person. Like if there's an offensive lineman that they love, go get him, man.
Yeah. To me, that JC Latham might be that guy. But is he going to be available? I don't think they're going to do something crazy. I don't think they're going to jump it. I don't think they would trade up into like the top 15, nothing like that. If they're going to trade up, it might just be a few spots to make sure they get a guy that doesn't get snagged right before them.
Yeah. And that's really what you have to worry about when you're at 31, because you can't really, you can plan some scenarios. They're going to do their like practice drafts or whatever, but all hell is going to break loose at some point in the first round.
Yeah.
And then you might have to just totally throw the battle plan out. JCG says Kool-Aid McKinstry can fill the odd cool name spot left by Jaquiski Tart.
Just catch a ball, man. In the NFC Championship, just catch a ball. That's all we need.
Yeah. Brett Davis, YouTube channel member, points out Shanahan and Lynch have not been afraid to move up for a player they like. I remember Brandon Ayuk. They moved back into the first round to get Ayuk after taking Javon Kinlaw in 2020. They moved up, obviously, for Trey Lance. That was much earlier. That wasn't on draft night, of course. They traded for Trent Williams. I remember that. They traded for D4. Like, they're willing to do it if there's a guy that they like. That's just
the window is now. The window is now. It really is. So I think all options are on the table. At the same time, it doesn't matter what they do. 49ers Twitter, 49ers X, everybody's going to lose their mind, whatever it is, good or bad.
Stovey points out also Reuben Foster. He was a first round pick the same year that they took
That
Solomon
was their
Thomas.
first year with the organization. Yep.
Oh man, I will never forget that Peter King was embedded with them that year and all the praise they got for taking Solomon Thomas and how smart Solomon Thomas was. And John Lynch took a class with him and they loved each other. And who was sitting there on the board when the 49ers picked? Patrick freaking Mahomes. And not only has Mahomes gone on to win 2 Super Bowls, well, more than that, but he's won 2 Super Bowls against specifically our 49ers. It kills me and it will kill me forever.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt about the week 17 game the year before when Kaepernick came back I was at the game when they beat the Rams. They don't win that game. They get the first pick and they end up getting Myles Garrett. I don't know if the 2016.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So if we're not in that situation of relying on Solomon Thomas, we have the number 1 pick. I have my dog barking next door. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, if we don't win that last game of the season, we probably have the number 1 pick and we get Myles Garrett. So that 2017 draft was weird.
That's awesome. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. So just a little reminder there.
Stovey says, let's be real, would Mahomes have been great here in San Francisco with Kyle? Yes, he would have been great. Even if Kyle would have tried to be more controlling. Once the ball is snapped, there's nothing Shanahan can do, and Mahomes is going to be Mahomes. So I think Patrick Mahomes would still be great in San Francisco.
Yeah. There's what more negative can you say about Mahomes? You can't. Yeah, he does everything. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I think he would have been great.
One position that I was pretty confident the 49ers were going to take in the draft was tight end at some point. I figured they're going to get one. I think that they have realized pretty quickly that Cam Latte was not who they thought he was going to be. Braden Willis did virtually nothing. The only thing I remember about his rookie year was the holding penalty he got in the Super Bowl because George Kittle was hurt.
Very costly one.
I thought that they were going to go tight end at some point in the draft, but they did announce today that they have a new backup tight end. That backup tight end is Eric Saubert. He was drafted by the Falcons in 2017 in the 5th round. He's been on 10 teams since then. He has bounced around. He played 10 games with the Cowboys and Texans last year, and he amassed a total of 12 receiving yards. So we know what he's going to be.
Yeah, he's just going to be a guy that Kyle's going to just throw on the line and hopefully can block, just like Warner. I don't know. The Brock Wright thing kind of irks me still because I really liked that signing. If the Lions didn't match the offer, I felt like that was like the number 2 guy. And then that it all backfired. I think Shanahan now is probably, okay, what am I going to do? Because Latu might not be the guy, like you said, but it's another third round pick invested in something that's not going to work out. Another one.
It's frightening how many, how other than Fred Warner.
Impatient and not give him a chance. I mean, there's not enough footage of him. What have we seen him do? What have we seen him do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's really depressing when you start to look at so many third round picks. Hopefully they can turn it around. I mean, you hit a home run with Fred Warner, so that's something. But I think he's going to be a camp body. I like the way Matt Barrows put it on X. He said, think of him as an older, cheaper Charlie Warner. It's like, okay, I've got it. But the Brock Wright thing, like, teams hate that. Teams don't like negotiating the contract for another team. Like the 49ers made that offer to Brock Wright. They thought they were getting him. They did not think Detroit was.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. They didn't think that Detroit was going to match it. And that's got to tick them off a little bit because it's like, if you want him, offer him more money. Like, make sure you get him. And obviously they didn't. And obviously Detroit thought he was important enough because they're paying him $12 million.
Yeah. I don't know if it was mind games there or what, but I think that was a guy that they really wanted, and unfortunately, I don't think Kyle and John envisioned that they were going to match it. And if, like you said, if there's a little bit of indication that you think they're going to match it, bump it up an extra $1 million, 2 for 13.
You got to figure out ways to. I know that there's tampering and all that, but let's be honest, stuff gets said, stuff gets talked about all the time. I'm sure there are back channels. If you really want this guy, you got to figure it out. I feel like that Niners-Lions, like, it's kind of becoming a thing. You know, obviously the NFC Championship game went the way it went. Ben Johnson stays in Detroit, which I think is massive for them. They're going to get another year in that offense. Niners play the Lions again this year. It's in Levi's again. I think
it'll be interesting with when they announce those week 1 matchups right after the draft.
I think that. Are you telling me something there without telling me something?
No, I'm just saying that's when the schedules normally come out, is after the draft sometime.
One of my favorite days of the entire year. But I think that, Niners Eagles, I don't know if I guess it still has the juice because of the whole Big Dom thing.
Yeah.
But Niners Lions is fast becoming a thing too.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some intriguing matches. 49ers, there's a lot of good revenge games for San Francisco this year. Kansas City, Detroit, Philly, even though they don't need the revenge for Philly or Detroit, but I mean, they're technically revenge games. That's what we're calling them. I think we did an article on it as well. Top revenge games people are looking forward to in 2024.
Yeah, but I don't like when people say that about the Chiefs. They said that in 2023 too. Oh, it's a revenge game. No, it's not. If the 49ers beat the Chiefs 100-0 this year, they still get the Super Bowl ring. Like the Niners don't get it.
When you look at it like that, of course.
Yeah, so I don't.
Doesn't matter.
I don't get satisfaction, or I won't get satisfaction if the Niners beat the Chiefs in the regular season this year. I'm not going to be like, yeah. I'm going to be like, damn it, why couldn't we do that in February?
Yeah, my best friend back home is a diehard Boston Celtics fan. About a couple of weeks ago, he was trolling me because they beat the Warriors by like 50 points. I'm like, we still have the ring in 2022. Right. I don't care about a meaningless regular season game.
I completely agree with you. JCG says the thing with the 49ers focusing on drafting players that eat, sleep, and breathe football is that you either get lucky and get a Fred Warner, but more often you get a Rudy Rudiger. I don't know about that. I just think that it's hard. Drafting guys is really hard. I think that some of their issues are not that people are eat, sleep, and breathe football. I think sometimes they go traits over production, and that, potential can get you fired, as they say.
Yeah, I agree with that. They've gotten lucky on a few times with guys that eat, sleep, breathe football. But at the end of the day, Kyle just wants somebody that's going to know his system and not make mistakes. He wants a football player.
Andre Guerrera, YouTube channel member, says that's the problem with our draft picks. Kyle either hits a home run or drafts a complete dud. That is something that I've brought up. Like, there's missing on a draft pick where it's like, hey, we thought this guy was going to be a superstar and he's just a solid starter. Like, that kind of is missing if you spend a high draft pick on a guy. But if you spend a quality pick on a guy and he can't even be active, he can't even play or contribute in any way, like Danny Gray or a Dante Pettis or an AJ Jenkins. I'm old enough to remember poor AJ Jenkins.
Yeah.
Like that is missing on a draft pick. And the 49ers have had a lot of those, like just complete Trey Sermon, Ty Davis Price, like literally contribute nothing kind of picks.
And all those guys at the time, you were like, oh my God, that's a good pick. Oh, well, maybe not AJ Jenkins, but that's, what was that, 2011, Harbaugh's first year?
Yep.
But a lot of those guys, I remember when, TDP was there and Trey Sermon, I'm like, oh, these are good guys, LSU, Ohio State products, they might work, and never utilized.
And I've said if they just could draft more league average players, the roster would be so much deeper. It does feel right now like it's kind of at a tipping point. Like you've got, Bosa and Warner and CMC and Debo and Kittle.
That's the thing, though. They have so many good core superstars on the team. It's like if you could you don't have to necessarily get superstar. Just get the right pieces to be next to those guys.
I agree completely.
You got the core pieces there. We have enough talent on the team. You just got to get linemen that can block, and you got guys that can put pressure on the quarterback.
At this point, and I think that's what the 49ers have kind of tried to do this offseason. Get guys that are going to have a history of health, that are going to be consistent performers and sort of fill in the cracks, so to speak, because they're trying to make one more run at this thing. I clicked the wrong button and accidentally threw up the quote board, so I might as well get to it.
For sure.
Parris Campbell, talking to the Philadelphia Inquirer, is pretty excited about Saquon Barkley being in Philly. He said, I know there's a bunch of debate between him and Christian McCaffrey, and don't get me wrong, McCaffrey's by far one of the best running backs in the league, but being able to see Saquon up close and personal, being in the same locker room on the same team, man, he's a different guy when he's on the field, honestly, and running behind that offensive line that we have, I think it's going to be pretty scary for defenses. Clayton.
What do you want him to say? It's his teammate.
I want him to say...
He's saying the right thing, but do I agree with him? I'm a diehard Saquon fan. I think Saquon, when healthy, is phenomenal, but Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is a little bit more of an X factor than Saquon. I think. I mean, just his pass, what he can do in the passing game, puts McCaffrey over almost everybody or anybody recently, I should say.
This quote bugs the heck out of me because you can praise.
I get it.
Saquon Barkley, great. Can't wait to see him behind the offensive line. I think he's really good. I think we're going to have a lot of success. You combine him with Jalen Hurts, awesome. But then you don't stop it. You got to just go that extra inch, right? And bring up Christian McCaffrey. Did a little digging. Just looking at the past 2 years of Saquon, he's played 30 games, almost 3,000 yards from scrimmage, 4.5 yards per touch, and 20 touchdowns. Compare that to just Christian McCaffrey's time in San Francisco, which is 27 games, not counting playoffs.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey has around 300 yards more from scrimmage. He averages 1.5 yards more per touch, and he has 11 more touchdowns. Saquon is maybe good. He's not Christian McCaffrey, and it is not up for debate.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and obviously the numbers are telling as well, but I think you got to add a little context to the numbers. I'm never going to be anti Christian McCaffrey. He's my guy, and he's the best. But I feel like team matters. How many times were San Francisco running the ball compared to the Giants, who are usually passing the ball because they're behind in most situations? I think there's a little context that could probably be added there. And, San Francisco is just a better team overall.
I understand what you're saying. Look, the Niners run the ball more than anybody. They had the fewest passing attempts in the league. Yeah. But I've seen both of these guys play. And Saquon Barkley has a lot of 2-yard runs. And I don't see a ton of those with Christian McCaffrey. And I know Trent Williams is great, but it's not like the rest of that 49ers offensive line is that much better than the Giants.
And if you get Parris Campbell in a room, you were able to have a conversation. You could say, you can flip it on and be like, what would Saquon or what would Christian do with that Philadelphia offensive line? Just flip the script on him, because that's a really good offensive line. That would be a fair question to ask.
J. Cruz 49er says Barkley on this offense is comparable. Come on, stats. That's a weak take. Let's see it with Saquon Barkley. All right. I saw Christian McCaffrey dominate the league in Carolina. Let's not forget this. With Saquon Barkley, what's everybody saying? Oh, well, the team around him isn't good.
Healthy. I mean, when Saquon's good, when Saquon's healthy, he's very good. I like Saquon. But I agree with you. He's not Christian McCaffrey, but I don't mind the Parris Campbell take. It doesn't bother me too much. It's his teammate.
I know, but you can praise him without trying to put him above Christian McCaffrey. That bugs me. Look, this is all I have. We don't have Super Bowl rings, okay? This is what
I'm a long time, man. I was 12 years old the last time I saw him win one, so it's been a long time.
I was 9. 1994 was a long time ago. By the way, happy 55th birthday to Ricky Waters, who had 3 touchdowns.
Is he 55?
He turned 55 on Sunday.
Wow. Ricky was my guy, man. Love
really
Ricky.
Good. Like
really
underrated. Good. 3 touchdowns in that Super Bowl. Only one of 5 guys that have ever scored 3 touchdowns from scrimmage in a Super Bowl. And I didn't know this. He has the record for most touchdowns from scrimmage in a playoff game. In 93 against the Giants, he put up 5 touchdowns in the divisional game. That is still the record to this day. He's the only guy to ever do it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Those are good men. Ricky Waters was the man. I remember when he signed with Philly after San Francisco. I was devastated as a kid. Devastated.
Steve Young said he thinks that a big reason why the 49ers didn't win another Super Bowl is because they let Ricky go.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it.
Ricky
and bar none, William Floyd back there.
Yes. William Floyd was picked in the 1st round, I believe. A fullback.
I don't remember that.
Yes, he was 28th overall in 94. The Niners drafted him. Can you imagine? You thought people lost their mind when Jake Moody got picked in the 3rd. Can you imagine if Roger Goodell gets up to the podium in a couple of weeks and says 49ers first pick, number 31 overall is a fullback?
A little trivia for you. It's a question. Do you remember who the starting running back was after Ricky Waters without looking it up?
After Ricky Waters, was it Derek Lavelle?
It is Derek Lavelle. A lot of people don't know that. No?
Let's go. How dare you try and challenge me?
I wasn't testing you. Just we're randomly talking about Ricky Waters. And a lot of people don't remember that little gap between Waters and Garrison Hurst. It was Derek Lavelle was the guy.
I knew I was going to say Garrison Hurst, but then you asked me, and I was like, if he's asking me, it's not Garrison. That's too obvious. It was Lavelle, then it was Garrison Hurst, and then it was Charlie Garner, who was really good.
Tennessee guy, man. I'm a Tennessee Vols college football fan, so
Andre says those days are done. Kyle is the only coach who still values fullbacks. I got into a whole thing about that with 49er fans, but luckily Juice took. Oh, go ahead.
No, keep going. I want you to go ahead.
I'm happy that Juice took a pay cut because he had to take a pay cut. There was no reason to pay him that much money. I don't care that he does other things. I don't care, but he did. And to his credit, he did. And so good.
He was, Kyle's the man. Who am I to say what is considered overpaid and not over? Yeah, the pay cut helps. And I think that pay cut, specifically him in that position, says a lot more about Kyle's thinking with this team moving forward. I think, to me, him keeping Kyle is more of a sign of he wants to keep this team intact, which leads to me not thinking Debo is going anywhere. That's the other conversation. I'm not trying to get off topic, but
no, it's fine.
I feel like Kyle has his guys. Keeping Juszczyk is very telling to me.
But I think Debo's going to be gone after 2024. I think this is Debo's last year with the 49ers because I don't think he's going to take a pay cut.
Yeah, no. It also depends on when Ayuk signs as well. So how big that contract is. You
think he's definitely going to sign?
Oh, I know he's signing. Could it change? Sure. But yeah, everything we're hearing. Ian discussed it at the draft, or not the draft, at the combine. He said it before the league meeting a couple of weeks ago when John Lynch was making headlines saying, "Oh yeah, Ayuk we're in talks with Ayuk." Ian said it like he's their priority this offseason. I don't think it's going to play out as long as it did with Debo. I definitely don't. It'll probably play out, but if the 49ers were smart, they would sign him immediately. You have CeeDee Lamb and you have Justin Jefferson are both wanting their new contract. They're both going to want to set the bar. They're going to set that number. Get Ayuk out of the way before that number gets like crazy, and then the negotiation gets that much harder. But they're all waiting for each other. It was very similar to Debo and AJ Brown a couple of years ago. They're all waiting for each other. I think Ayuk will be the first of those 3 to sign.
It was Debo, it was AJ Brown, and there was one other guy that I can't remember.
DK?
Yeah, and they're all represented by the same agent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a year for that agent.
I think their agent is Troy Tory something. I forget his name.
Yes, I can't remember the name, but you're 100% right. All right, well, that makes me feel a little good. You feel confident that BA is going to re-sign?
Yeah, that's why I get such a kick. Like, me working for the league, I can only say so much I can't get too crazy on X or on Twitter, but 49ers Twitter makes me laugh a lot. There's such an echo chamber of really, really bad takes and just over exaggerations, everyone panicking all at once. We're not even at the draft yet, and we're worried about Brandon Ayuk's contract.
Some of those takes are mine, not going to lie.
No. You're fine. I've seen much worse, but
like they don't have to wait until August to sign these guys. Like you can sign them anytime.
Look, I used to panic a lot, but now seeing both sides of it, being behind the scenes and then working with some of these guys who talk to the players and talk to the agents and talk to the GMs on a consistent basis. I understand both sides. Ayuk wants what he thinks is fair, and the 49ers want to give him what they think is fair. It's all a business, but they know how valuable he is to their young quarterback, Brock Purdy. You're not going to move on from somebody. You're still developing Brock. You want Brock to be your future. Don't get rid of his go-to guy. You got to look at it like that too. You can't get rid of these guys he's building rapport with.
And I'm fine with all of that, but I can't help but look at it and say there's pressure to get a deal done, like you said, because of the other guys that are going to reset the market.
Yes,
you want this guy. If you re-sign him, you're going to lower his cap number. Why wait? There's nothing but good reasons to re-sign this guy, and it feels like they're waiting just in case at the draft somebody blows them away with an offer, and then they will be willing to pull the trigger.
It's so hard for me to imagine them trading Brandon Ayuk. I don't think they're in love with anybody that much in the draft to replace somebody like that. It took Kyle several years to finally get to this point where he loves everything he does on the field.
Joe Boyd says trading Ayuk would be a massive mistake.
Absolutely agree.
Jason Ornelas says they must sign Brandon Ayuk or expect Brock to regress.
You got to look at it like that. You got to think of it like that. Like losing Ayuk affects Brock Purdy down the road. Brock Purdy's not Patrick Mahomes. You can't just plug and play anybody. Like he has guys that he needs to be comfortable with.
Well, I hope they do it. I hope they do it soon. I hope it doesn't get contentious. Like we don't need to go like down to the wire.
Does he seem like that guy? Does he think? I don't think he's the type to unfollow the 49ers on Instagram and Twitter and then demand a trade. I don't see Brandon Ayuk having that personality. I don't know him. I could be wrong, but I just don't see that. I don't see it being ugly or dragging out too long.
I thought that, but then I heard what he said at the end of the season when he was kind of
the little emojis.
Well, and they asked him like, "Do you want to be back?" And he was like, "Maybe, if that's the right move." And I think honestly, part of it is he wants the ball. He wants the ball. And Modelo Time 1999 on Twitch, shout out to the Twitch fan, by the way, we love you, says, how can the Niners justify paying Ayuk top wide receiver money if they don't feature him as one? And they don't. I think he had 105 targets last year, which was like way less than the other top receivers.
But I don't think, imagine being Devontae Adams, being as good as you are. Not to say Kyle wouldn't force Devontae the ball, but that's not Kyle's system.
Right, but BA doesn't care about that.
Be just like one guy getting the most amount of targets. It's a lot of sideline to sideline motion. Who's open? Reads 1, 2, 3. Telling Brock, if this isn't there, go here. It's not like directly forcing a guy the ball. That's why I don't think there's ever going to be a true number one in San Francisco. Ayuk to me is a 1 or a really good 2 on another team, but he's going to get paid. It's not going to be Justin Jefferson money, but somewhere 24 a year annually, 24 to 30 a year.
But that's the thing, right? So for Ayuk may be like, I want those targets. I know, I agree with you. I think Ayuk would be like, this is a great system, but I don't care. I want my 140 targets a year so that I can get top of the market money.
Sure, then go to Atlanta and play with Kirk Cousins and never see a Super Bowl.
Right, but I'm just saying, if you're Ayuk, I could understand Ayuk thinking that. And I could also understand the 49ers saying, look, we're never going to give a number one guy 140 targets. So why are we going to pay anybody top of the market money?
Yeah. He's going to get paid. Debo got paid. He's going to get paid. It's just let's pump the brakes at least through draft. Once we get through draft and see how, let's see if a receiver that they like falls to them in the second or third, fourth round. We'll see.
Do you think, because it looked like in the Super Bowl, I mean, especially if you just go by how it played out, Debo had 11 targets in the game.
Debo was, and I love Debo, and I'm saying this as a person who loves Debo and respects Debo and loves his game. The lack of effort from Debo was very disappointing in the Super Bowl. Very disappointing in the Super Bowl. It was, what did he have? 3 drop passes. I didn't think that there was 3 balls that he could have easily caught that he just no effort there. He got hurt, and it was a very disappointing performance from Debo. Seeing it in person like that, it was just like, what is happening right now?
You were actually in the stands in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I was one of the worst days of my life. I mean, we saw each other. When did you leave Vegas?
I left Vegas Friday afternoon.
Okay, so you were there for what?
I got there Sunday night. Yeah, and I got there Sunday night, left on Friday.
Yeah, I was there the Saturday before the team flew in. They flew in that Sunday. I was Saturday through the following Monday. I was there for 8-9 days. And the way I described the Super Bowl experience, being born and raised in Vegas and being a diehard 49er fan, think of like one of your favorite movies, favorite TV series that you absolutely loved but hated the ending. That was my week. It was a fantastic week. I was on cloud. I thought San Francisco was winning. I covered the team. We covered the team all week. I was down at Lake Las Vegas. I had no doubt that they were winning. And then for it to end like that, it was just gut-wrenching. It was so gut-wrenching. And my post-game assignment, I had to be in the Chiefs locker room.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the 49ers lose.
And I was assigned before the game, pre-game, winning team locker room. That was my post. And I was like, cool, San Francisco. I'm going to be in the locker room. Great. And it was tough, man. Watching Paul Rudd celebrate with Mahomes and the guys drinking Ace of Spades, cigars. It was rough, man. It was rough.
I mean, I thought it was rough having to come down and do shows day after day. And it was, like I said at the time, like it was the only time in my life where I didn't want to do this job. This is the only job I've ever wanted to have. I've never worked a day in my life. And I did not want to come to work those days. It was just, I had nothing. So were you on the field watching the game?
No. So they have media. They had the media aux box. So basically all the media, the media row, and then below it is a whole aux box of like a whole section strictly dedicated to media. So me and several of my NFL colleagues were all right there. And then once the game is about to end, you make your way down, and then we go into our little green room where like our NFL talent is. And that's where I was watching overtime. It was in the green room because once it ended, it's like I had to get onto the field and then go to the locker room. So
did you let out an audible swear when the Chiefs won in overtime?
Dude, I wanted to cry. I just after it was third, what was it? Third, when Ayuk was wide open, Burford mixed the block, we settled for a field goal. I just knew it was over.
Never should have settled for a field goal. That was the most ridiculous thing in the world. Kyle taking the ball first was ridiculous. Yeah. Don't get me started on that. But that is, man, I thought I had it tough. You having to be in the Kansas City locker room immediately after.
I'll send you some pictures after this.
Oh, man, that's got to sting. You are a stronger man than I am.
It was tough.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Clayton, thank you so much for the time. I was only going to go 20 minutes, and we did 45 instead. So
it went by so fast. It went by so fast.
You can follow Clayton on X at Holloway NFLN. I'm sure we'll have you back again. You got to feed us the news, man. I need the inside scoop. Come on.
I mean, if I give you what I know, how do I trust you not to go to the X world and tell everybody about it?
Oh, you can.
Mr. Rappaport wouldn't be happy with me. All of my colleagues wouldn't be happy with me.
You'd get some angry DMs.
It's fun, man. And when you get to know some big scoops before they happen, before we put it out and we're waiting, It's pretty cool.
Is there one, not even 49ers related, just one that you knew like way before everybody else and you were
I
like,
can tell you one that's 49er related, and I can tell you, yeah.
oh, okay. Tell us.
When the surprise of the world happened at the end of August of 2022, Ian gave us a heads up that Jimmy was going to re-sign and stay in San Francisco when everybody thought he was going to move on. We knew about it about a week before it happened.
A week?
Mm-hmm.
A week before it happened?
But that's part of the game. Like you know, they don't want to burn their bridge. You know, you don't burn bridges in their what they do. So you get fed information. Hey, you know, give you a heads up on this, but I don't want you putting it out to the world yet. I'll let you know when, type of thing. Knew about that one when Aaron Donald signed his contract before he retired. When did he sign his contract? 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Knew about that like a week in advance. And being a Niner guy, I was like, great. Great. Aaron Donald's re-signing. Awesome. You know, those are small examples, but it's daily stuff, you know, random smaller contracts, trades. But the ones where like that are really fun, where you're sitting on for like a week and you can't tell anybody, that's the one that just eats you up. I wanted to tell all of my Niner friends that Jimmy was staying because nobody was going to believe me. Nobody was going to believe me.
Did you have to like double check when you get that text from me? And are you like, dude, seriously? Are you just?
And yeah, and he knows I'm a Niner guy, so anytime,
right?
And he's like, you're gonna be surprised. I'm like, bullshit. And he's like, yeah, no.
Has he ever messed with you and been like, oh yeah, they're trading Debo for Brock Wright or whatever?
No, nothing like that.
Oh, well, you know what? Then stock down Ian. That's bad.
I always mess with him though. I tell him he's live on TV when he's not. I'm like, hey man, we need you live up here in like 20 minutes. He's like, what? Why? I'm like, I'm just messing. You know, things like that.
You're on. That's it. You're on your way. He's gonna get you with something at some point.
Yeah.
Did you know about Trey Lance ahead of time?
Yeah.
How far ahead of time did you know?
I don't think it was anything crazy. Like the Jimmy one was several days.
Yeah.
Several days. I think Trey. I think it just came down a couple of hours. It was the day of, because it happened during the Cowboys. It was the Cowboys preseason game, right? When did it happen?
No, not the trade. The when they actually picked him.
Oh, I think you're talking about the trade.
Well, now I want to know about both.
I think we're talking about the trade. I think because the trade happened the day of the preseason game, right?
Yes. Yep.
I think we found out about it that morning, or we knew something was happening. I always knew Trey was the guy. I never believed that Mac Jones was the guy. There was no reason for them to do a move from what was the original pick? 12 to 3 to make a lateral move from Jimmy to Mac Jones. What you're making that move, it was for Trey Lance or Justin Fields, but then we started to figure it out that Trey Lance was who they wanted. Yeah, but I just knew it was never Mac. But there wasn't anything specific or special that I knew about that. We just knew Mac Jones wasn't the guy.
So do you know who all the picks are going to be already in this draft in a couple of weeks?
I can tell you Caleb Williams is going number 1.
Wow. Breaking news. Breaking news. I'm old enough to remember when they would be signed before the draft even started.
Those were the good old days.
Matt Stafford cashing in, Sam Bradford.
Did Sam Bradford cut those giant $49 million rookie contracts for being the number 1 overall pick?
Man. Yeah, I like it better this way, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like I do. It's better that the 49ers were able to move off of Trey Lance. They don't do that if he has this mega contract. There's no way they would have done that. That can only happen on a rookie wage scale.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right on that. And, they're finally back to having normal draft picks again. So people are kind of moving on from everything that they gave up to get him. So
I just realized the Niners gave up the 3 firsts and a third to get Trey Lance. Washington gave up 3 firsts and a second to get RG3. So I feel a little bit like Washington gave up more than the 49ers gave up at least.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. That was an interesting conversation we had on our Total Access show before I jumped on with you. We had Tom Pelissero and Derek Carr talking about what the Vikings are going to have to give up if they want JJ McCarthy, because that seems like a team that's really interested in him. And it's like, imagine giving up 3 first-round draft picks to move up to get JJ McCarthy. It doesn't seem like it seems out of this world, but it's a legit possibility.
They would have to be in that ballpark though, in the three first.
I mean, because where are they sitting at right now? Minnesota's at like 11. They would have to give up their first round pick and then possibly their 2 first round picks this year, because they have 2 in the first round. Their 2 first round picks this year and next year's first to move up that far.
Yeah, they have 11 and they have 23.
Yeah.
But you know what? If it's only affecting 2 years of your draft, that's different. Yeah, I feel like it's easier to swallow that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You get
if you're a good team and you're making it to the Super Bowl, it's easier to swallow. But if you like not making the playoffs, I think the fans are going to come for you.
What do you mean? They got Sam Darnold there. They're all set. Oh God, I'll never forget being on the field at opening night in Vegas. And I'm talking with Levin and he taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, Sam Darnold's over there. Do you want to go talk to him?" And I just went, "No." And we never did. Like, I'm so glad that Sam Darnold is not on the team, that he never had to play any amount of time. I was so against that signing from the beginning.
Yeah, that's funny. Before we hop off, I have one question for you.
Oh, sure.
I think it's something my buddy sent me. We call it like explain your tweet.
And good. Oh boy. Oh, here we go.
I need to know. Explain your tweet. I don't remember who it was that tweeted it, but you retweeted it and you said something like,
"Oh, I know what this.
You would be willing to lose any and all of them," and it was like CMC. It was all the big guys.
Yes. Oh no, we talked about this last Friday because.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch it. So please.
No, it's okay.
This tweet.
Yes. Okay. Everybody went nuts on me, and they were like coming for me in my mentions. RIP my mentions, and I just wanted to point out. I'm trying to pull it up here so people can see what I'm talking about.
I thought that was hilarious. I wanted to write something to you when you tweeted that out. I was like, I'll hold up.
It started with Ryan Hensley. He tweeted, "How many of these 6 49ers will remain on the team past 2024? Enjoy 2024, he said. And it was Christian McCaffrey, Mooney Ward, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Trent Williams, and Deebo Samuel. And I said I'd be fine with losing any or all of them. And it's because you can't get attached to guys. The 49ers made a Super Bowl in 2019 without 4 of the 6 guys in the picture, right? Trent Williams replaced Joe Staley. Christian McCaffrey replaced Raheem Mostert. Charvarius Ward replaced Richard Sherman. Brandon Ayuk replaced Emmanuel Sanders. Like, that's how it works. Guys come and go. And the 49ers have shown that they're able to build this roster up. So I'm not saying I'm rooting for it. I'm not saying I want it to happen. But if it did, I would be fine with it.
Well, hold on. Can you can you move that down a little so I can see all the guys?
Yes.
Or is that the way? Look, hold on.
Hang on. Let's see if I can.
Just look at the significant upgrade though when you said that. CMC to Mostert.
Right.
You have Mooney Ward to a aging Richard Sherman, and then obviously one of the greatest left tackles of all time, Trent Williams. So I get what you're saying with somebody like Ayuk, but it's hard for me to imagine replacing a CMC or a Kittle or a Deebo or a Trent Williams.
Right, but you don't. Who would have thought replacing Joe Staley that they would upgrade, right? Like, but
they did it through trade. They didn't do it through draft.
But that's allowed. They can do that too.
But who would you replace Trent Williams? Who in the?
Well, you're right. I see what you're saying. You're not going to upgrade because Trent Williams is the best in the league.
Yeah.
But you don't have to upgrade at all the spots. Maybe they upgrade the rest of the offensive line. So maybe their left tackle's not as good, but they upgrade the rest of the offensive line. Obviously, I don't want them to lose all those guys, but sure. I'm just saying I'm not going to sit there and be like, "Oh my God, there's no chance we can win now because we don't have these guys." Like, no, they can do it. It's going to be hard. It'll be incredibly difficult.
It'll be very hard. This goes back to what we were previously talking about. It's like all you got to do is draft the right guy. You got all the superstars in place right here. And you just got to put some pieces near them. Couldn't imagine this team without all of these guys at once.
They only drafted half the guys in the picture, right? They drafted BA. They drafted
scored on getting the guys that they didn't draft.
Yes.
Got to look at it like that. I mean, CMC. Oh, that was another one. That was another one I knew about before it happened was CMC.
I knew that was going to happen because Tim Kawakami wrote a whole article about how much it made sense. And I was like, Tim's not spending all this time writing this artial if he doesn't know that a trade.
When did he put out that article? Was it days before? Or was it like?
It was like a day before. It
was we knew about it about a week before.
You knew about it for a week?
5? Okay, maybe I'm exact 5 days. I think that, 5 days.
Man, that is crazy. JCG says, Stats, since you didn't wear the Darnold jersey on Friday, I say you have to wear it every podcast next week. I didn't have it. to wear. So I lost a bet with Michelle Majuk, who works as a researcher.
You know what? That's funny because I know that you had her on, and I don't think I think she's one of our researchers.
Yep.
I don't know her personally, but I know she gets all of my emails because I'm the one that sends out like all the breaking news email. So she's probably familiar with my emails and stuff. But yeah, she's one of our researchers.
So I lost a bet, and I had to. The bet was if I predicted the 49ers wins better than she did, that she had to buy a Sam Darnold or a Jawan Jennings jersey because for some reason she hates Jawan Jennings.
Why? Jawan is awesome.
I don't know. But
3rd and Jawan.
So I lost the bet, so I had to buy the Sam Darnold jersey.
Oh my God, that's funny.
It's April and he's off the team, so I had a hard time finding one. So the only one I could find without like paying hundreds of dollars for a custom jersey is an extra large Sam Darnold jersey. So it's huge on me. I'm going to be swimming in this thing, but let it be known, I do not welch on a bet. I am paying off the bet on Friday. I will have the jersey on, and I will hate every minute of it.
I love that. That's fun.
Ugh, Sam Darnold.
You're a man of your word.
That's
good
right.
For you. You're good for you.
I never promise 100% accuracy. I always promise 100% authenticity. And from now until the time I'm done doing this, you will get it. Clayton, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. Would love to have you back. You can follow him on Twitter, as I said, at Holloway NFLN. And I'm sure we'll do this again soon. And hopefully we've got more breaking news, more good breaking news for the 49ers in the future.
I'll keep you in the loop on a few things.
Yeah, let's go, everybody. Right, enjoy the rest of your night.
All right.